The myth my friend made up was real, and I think I'm still trapped inside. The last time I saw my friend Zola, she had no eyes. I know that sounds insane, but you have to understand, Melbourne was a strange place for a kid from Ohio. I was there for a semester abroad, studying ecology, but most of what I learned came from the long nights spent in shitty pubs with the friends I'd made. Zola was the ringleader. She had this wild energy, a laugh that could cut through the noise of any room, and a morbid obsession with all the things that supposedly lurked in the corners of her country. She'd get a few beers in her and start spinning these yarns for my benefit. The American. Stories about the bunyip that drags you under the water, the yowie in the Blue Mountains. Most of it was bullshit, stuff they were making up to fuck with me. We'd all laugh, dissecting the theoretical biology of a drop bear. It was a good time. But one night, about halfway through my stay, the mood shifted. We were crammed into a booth at our usual spot in Brunswick, and Zola got this weird, quiet look on her face. She leaned over the table, her voice dropping low. "You ever heard of the Lygon Street bathhouse?" she asked. Nobody had. She told us it wasn't a story for just anyone. It was a place that didn't really exist. Not most of the time, anyway. But she said that on very specific nights, when a full moon shines through a cloudless, rainy sky, a blue door appears. It wedges itself between two of the Italian restaurants on Lygon Street. A door with a small silver crescent moon carved into the wood. I was already tuning out. Sounded like more of the same fantastical crap. I was more interested in the weird spiders of Australia than its imaginary doors. Still, something about the way she told it, the sincerity in her eyes, it lodged itself in my brain. That night, I dreamed of it. White tiles, endless steam that smelled like overripe mangoes, and the feeling of being watched. The weeks flew by, a blur of final exams and farewell parties. I'd mostly forgotten the bathhouse, except for those nights it rained. The dream would always come back. The same sticky, sweet air, the same white tiles. I never got far from the door before I'd wake up in a cold sweat. My last week in Australia, it happened. We'd been at the cafe all afternoon, cramming for our last exam. We left early because the sky was turning a strange, bruised purple and the first drops of rain were starting to fall. Back in my dorm, I was packing when I noticed it. The rain was coming down hard, but when I looked out the window, the sky was perfectly clear, not a single cloud, and hanging right in the middle of it was a full, brilliant moon. My heart did a stupid little flutter. I pulled out my phone and messaged the group chat. "You guys seeing this weather? Cloudless and pissing down." Zola's reply came back almost instantly. "Jesus Christ, Ren, are you still on about that?" I was drunk. I made it up. There's no magic door. The others chimed in, laughing emojis, telling me I'd been in Australia too long. I should have felt relieved. Of course she made it up. It was just another one of their wind-ups. But her text felt defensive, angry almost. And I'm an idiot. I'm a stubborn idiot, and it was my last week, and I thought, what the hell? I'll go have a look. Just to be sure, just to put the damn thing to bed. So I hopped a tram to Lygon Street. The ride over was weird. The streets were way too empty for 10 o'clock at night. The few people I saw were hunched under umbrellas, scurrying, not looking at anyone. The rain streaked down the tram window, and the city lights blurred into long, watery ribbons. I got off at the south end of the street. It was even emptier here. Just the warm glow of restaurant windows on the wet pavement and the smell of garlic bread and rain. I walked the whole length of the street, checking every gap between the buildings. Nothing. Just brick walls, overflowing bins, and dark, wet alleyways. I did it again. And a third time. Nothing. I felt like the biggest fucking idiot on the planet. Of course there was nothing. Zola was probably telling the whole group what a moron I was right now. I shoved my hands in my pockets, ready to head back to the tram stop, when a tram rattled past on the opposite side of the road. Its headlight swept across the street, a moving beam of white light. For a single, solitary second, it illuminated the space between two trattorias. And I saw it. A deep, cobalt blue door where, I swear to God, there had been only a brick wall moments before. I froze. My heart hammered against my ribs. It had to be a trick of the light. A reflection. I waited, holding my breath, until the headlights of a passing car washed over the same spot. There it was again, the blue door. A silver crescent moon was set right in the center. It wasn't just there, it looked like it had always been there. The paint slightly weathered, the brass handle worn smooth. My brain was screaming at me to run, just get back on the tram and go home. But my feet were moving before I could stop them. I crossed the empty street, the rain plastering my hair to my forehead. I reached out a trembling hand and touched the wood. It was real, cold and solid beneath my fingertips. I grabbed the handle. For a second, I just stood there, weighing every decision I'd ever made that led me to this moment. Then I turned it and pushed the door open. The air that hit me was the first shock. It was thick, humid, and cloyingly sweet, exactly like in my dreams. The smell of mangoes and gardenias, but so intense it was almost nauseating. The room was small, tiled in glossy white ceramic from floor to ceiling. A thick white fog swirled around my ankles, obscuring everything more than a few feet away. It was just like the dreams. I almost expected to wake up, but my heart was still pounding, and the damp, heavy air felt real in my lungs. I took a few steps forward, deeper into the fog. In the dreams, this was always the point where I woke up, but not this time. I kept walking. The sweet smell got stronger, guiding me. I found myself in a larger chamber with a wide, steaming bath in the center. The water was a strange, milky pink, and on the other side of it, I saw a silhouette in the mist. A man. I couldn't make out his face, but there was something familiar about his stooped shoulders. I got a little closer, my sneakers squeaking on the wet tiles. And then I recognized him. It was Kavi, the quiet, middle-aged guy who worked the counter at the cafe we always went to. The one who had served us our coffees just this afternoon. "Kavi?" I called out. My voice sounded small and dead in the thick air. "Hey man, what is this place?" He didn't respond. He just kept moving in a slow, shuffling circle. I walked around the edge of the bath to get closer. "Hey, are you okay?" I reached out to touch his shoulder. Just as my fingers were about to make contact, he turned, and I saw his face. I threw myself backward, scrambling away. A scream caught in my throat. His eyes were gone. Not closed, not gouged out, just gone. There were smooth, seamless patches of skin where his eyes should have been. His mouth hung open, and I could see that his teeth were missing too. His gums pale and slick with drool that dripped in a steady rhythm onto the white tiles. He was wearing the same faded polo shirt and apron from the cafe. He wasn't hurt. He wasn't bleeding. He was just empty. He shuffled past me, his blank face pointed forward, and vanished back into the fog. The sweet smell of fruit and flowers instantly curdled in my nostrils. It was rot. The cloying sweetness was the smell of decay. I gagged, spinning around, trying to find the blue door. I ran back the way I came, but the small entrance room was gone. The wall just opened into another identical chamber with another steaming pink bath. Panic, cold, and absolute seized me. I started running. Room after identical room. Sometimes I'd see other figures in the fog, all of them shuffling aimlessly, all of them with the same smooth skin over their eyes, the same empty, drooling mouths. I recognized a few of them from the neighborhood, a woman who always sat outside the bakery, a guy I'd seen a dozen times at the tram stop. They were all here, trapped. It could have been minutes or hours. Time didn't seem to work right in here. Then, through a thinning patch of mist, I saw it. The cobalt blue door. A surge of desperate hope shot through me. I ran for it, slipping and sliding on the slick floor. I was almost there. I could almost feel the cool night air. And then a hand clamped down on my shoulder. It was soft, small, and terrifyingly weak. I whipped around. It was Zola. She looked like she had been here for years. Her face was gaunt. Her skin was pale and waxy. And where her bright, laughing eyes had been, there was just that same impossible, smooth skin. Her mouth opened, her jaw working, like she was trying with every last ounce of her being to scream, to warn me. But the only thing that came out was a faint gurgling sound as a thick, dark dribble of drool spilled down her chin. I stumbled back, my mind completely short-circuiting. My heel caught on a wet patch. My arms windmilled, and the last thing I saw was Zola's blank, horrifying face before the back of my head connected with the hard tile floor with a sickening crack. When I woke up, I was lying on cold, wet pavement. The sun was just starting to rise, painting the sky in pale shades of gray and orange. The city was waking up. I could hear the distant rumble of the first tram of the day. I was freezing, my clothes were soaked, and my head was throbbing. I sat up, looking around wildly. I was in the narrow space between the two cafes. The blue door was gone. There was only brick. As soon as I got back to my dorm, I texted the group, telling them we needed to meet. That something had happened. We met at our usual spot. Kavi was behind the counter, looking tired but otherwise completely normal. He brought our coffees over. As I started telling them what happened, I saw him watching me from the corner of his eye, his expression unreadable. My other friends just laughed. They told me I'd probably had too much to drink on my last night, passed out on the street, and had a nightmare. Standard stuff. The whole time, I kept looking at Zola, waiting for her to say something, anything. She just sat there, stirring her coffee, not meeting my gaze. She didn't say a single word. I leave for Ohio tomorrow. But I think a part of me never left that place. I can't shake the feeling that there's a version of me, a copy, now wandering those white, foggy halls. A version with smooth skin where his eyes should be, drooling onto the tiles, forever lost in the sweet-smelling rot of the bathhouse on Lygon Street.